Good Tuesday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on in to the PWTorch Fireside Chat. I'm PWTorch Assistant Editor Zack Heydorn, and we are here to preview tonight's episode of NXT. I'd say NXT 2.0, but no longer. And tonight will be the first. Tonight will be the first kind of tapings, the first live tapings of NXT since the dropping of 2.0 and since going back to the black and gold the black and gold logo, right? Should be pretty interesting to see if or what they do to really kind of differentiate this kind of new NXT from NXT 2.0, which is different from the previous black and gold. I joke that there's no there's no Triple H skulls around these days so maybe he's going to bring the skulls back. Who knows? Thanks for being here. I very much appreciate it. Always a pleasure being live, previewing these shows with you guys. So thanks for being here. If it's your first time checking us out on the channel, we do live previews for all the big shows of the week with you, engaging with your feedback, with your questions, with your comments. So for Raw, for NXT, for AEW Dynamite tomorrow night, and for SmackDown on Friday night, we've got live previews here that you can check out. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that notification button after you subscribe so that you know when we're going to go live and when we're going to do whatever else we do on the channel. And there's a lot interviews. Wade has some special stuff up that's really cool for you guys to check out. So it's all there. So subscribe to the channel, and I think you'll be real happy that you did. But again, thanks for being with me as we preview the show here. Just make sure to drop your comments and questions into the chat. I would love to get some of those as we spend our time here. So outside of the fact that this is a kind of like another, they're not promoting it as a relaunch, but it feels like it could easily be one, given the pivots in just the brand of NXT, the color, et cetera, and this being like the first live show back in that environment. So I'm really curious to see what they do, if anything. The interesting thing, though, it's not a very stacked card in terms of what they're promoting right now. It's pretty, honestly, it's one of the weaker NXT cards, NXT TV cards that we've seen in the last, however many months. Like, it's been, I think it's significantly weaker than other cards in the recent past. So the first thing that they're heavily leaning into is Grayson Waller and the Grayson Waller Effect. They're calling it the season debut or the season premiere of the Grayson Waller Effect. He's going to have Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade on the show. Santo, hi, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it, man. Hope you're excited for NXT tonight, and love to hear your thoughts on all the topics we discuss, and anybody else in the chat, same thing. So anyway, Grayson Waller is going to do the Grayson Waller Effect. And they're promoting it as a season premiere, right? I'm generally pretty high on what Grayson Waller can do in these kinds of situations, right? Like, for some reason, he was on like the fast track to the top of NXT 2.0. It felt like at the beginning, when he was a really featured guy. And not to say that he's not featured now, but not in the same way. I mean, this guy was feuding with AJ Styles, at one point. When AJ Styles was coming down to NXT, Waller was the guy that was waiting for him. He was on Raw, with shooting angles for his feud with AJ Styles. So he seemed like he was in their plans, but right now I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that he is. Like, it seems like he's a guy that they can lean on for content, a lot like The Miz in that regard. But his push to, like, okay, this guy's going to be a top heel, I don't know if that's there at this point in time. I think he still has the potential to do that, but he just hasn't been put in any feuds that that makes sense that could elevate him to that level. I maintain that I think him and Braun Breaker can have a really excellent singles program for the NXT Championship at some point, just because Waller can talk so well. But here, he's being promoted and he's kind of the face of the show tonight. But it's in the background of this Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez feud, and I think this is a good environment for them to continue that feud. But I haven't liked the feud up to this point. I mean, I like the idea of it. I like Cora Jade turning heel. I think she's better as a heel than she was as a babyface. And Roxanne Perez is just a clear cut, natural babyface that WWE is going to be able to lean on for a long time, I think. But something's not meshing with these two right now. It's like I feel like it's such a put on. Like I feel like neither one, like both of them are trying to display how much they dislike the other, but it all comes across as so scripted to me. And like I'm not feeling like the hatred that they both are saying they have. And I think that's a big part of it. Like going back to last night and looking at the Seth Rollins Riddle angle, not the best angle in the world, admittedly, but there was a sense of like a natural chemistry and a hatred between those guys that came across, and not just in the words. And we've seen the last few weeks, we've seen Roxanne Perez like in some pre-tape interviews where she tries to talk about beating up Cora Jade and wanting to get revenge, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the words are okay, but man, it's just not. I'm just not buying what she's selling. So my guess for this angle this week is that they're going to use this as a means to get to a Roxanne Perez versus Cora Jade match with some sort of stipulation at Halloween Havoc, which is coming up in a couple weeks. This, to me, is the avenue for that. And I think in that environment, as I said, it could work well to establish, that hatred, right? Like to establish the fact that, hey, we're going to have this match. It's going to have this stipulation. So we need to turn it up a notch and make sure that people believe what we're doing here. And I think this is a good environment for that. My hope here is, and my concern, I guess, if I have a concern about the segment, is it going to be too much Grayson Waller? Like, is Grayson Waller? Look, because the guy's super charismatic and he can talk. Like, but if he leans too much into that, he may overshadow what Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez are trying to do, because they're not as good of talkers as he is, and they don't command the ring like he does. So he's going to have to play a big part. And when I say that, I mean like almost holding back on what he can do there, so that Perez and Cora Jade can shine and do what they have to do to get this feud to the next level. So yeah, I expect this to be an important segment for the Halloween Havoc card, important segment for Perez and for Cora Jade. And I hope they can add a little bit of authenticity and depth to what they have going on. I mean, this is supposed to be a bitter personal blood feud. And I don't know about you guys. If you're out there listening, let me know. Let me know here in the chat, or send me a note on Twitter at @ZHeydornTorch, which you can see right there. And just let me know. Just let me know what do you think? Am I crazy? Like, are you guys feeling the sense of a personal grudge feud between Jade and Roxanne Perez? Maybe I'm the only one, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Also tonight, they've got a 6-woman tag team match with Alba Fire, Nikita Lyons, and Zoe Stark joining forces to take on Toxic Attraction. And this has been brewing for a bit. The Toxic Attraction has had and continues to have like feuds with those women, like Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark on the tag team side, and then Mandy Rose and Alba Fire on the women's singles side. So this is a natural match to have. Totally fine with it happening. I think it could be a good match. Toxic Attraction has been impressive in terms of a developmental act in WWE. Like, you can see this act being lifted from NXT and sent to the main roster, either on SmackDown or Raw, and you have something. I think you have a group that's ready. They can go in the ring, good enough. And Mandy Rose, probably one of the weaker workers on the team, but she has a different quality to her, which is that star quality. She's held the NXT Women's Championship for a while now. She's got some credibility behind her. She's got some big wins behind her. So I think she plays well on the main roster. So collectively, that act, I think can be something. Like I look at that and I go, okay, if Ronda Rousey wins the SmackDown Women's Championship this weekend at Extreme Rules, right? If that happens, where does she go from there? I mean, she's already feuded with most people that are in the company right now, and those that she hasn't are on Raw. I mean, like, yeah, you could do, Bianca Belair and Rousey hasn't been done before, but that's not going to be a thing. We haven't seen really Ronda Rousey versus Bayley before in like a program, but again, that's not going to be a thing either. So Charlotte's gone, Liv Morgan, they're doing that right now. So like, who does she have left on SmackDown? And so I wonder, if Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction could be, a team that comes up and answers the call on that and really kind of defines themselves as, hey, look, we're gonna be an act on the main roster that hovers around the main event constantly. And yeah, maybe we're not gonna main event WrestleMania with Mandy Rose and Ronda Rousey, but hey, can we get some TV time out of it? Can we get a SmackDown match out of it? Maybe a B show pay-per-view match out of it? I think you could do that. Especially if you want to foolishly, this is a NXT preview show after all, but if you want to foolishly keep Ronda Rousey as a babyface, Mandy Rose is probably as good a chance as any for that to happen. Santo, we're going to read your comments on the air here. I think it's a good one. I'm super excited to see how the possible rebranding will be. This is my main reasoning to watch. They really need to figure out a strong feud for Waller. He can be a top heel on Raw, SmackDown. 1,000%. I agree. And that's what was so confusing about his recent push, like with what he was doing. It's been undefined for the better part of 6 months. Like, whereas he came out of the gate so hot and so, okay, this is the guy. Like, and he wasn't bad in the ring. He had his big moment at the War Games pay-per-view with the spot off the top of the cage. And look, like, he just seems like either he angered the wrong person backstage. I mean, that's always a possibility, right? I mean, there's a lot of this as far as who gets pushed, who doesn't. And we just don't know because we're not backstage, and only so much gets reported at any given time. The thing is, it's so jarring to not see him involved in something important that you wonder if something happened backstage. So I don't know, but I agree, he can be a top heel. And a heel you can lean on to fill TV time, and they got a lot of it. So it'll be interesting to see where Waller goes in the next month here, even as NXT gets rebranded. The possible rebranding will be interesting to see. I'm kind of interested in that too. I don't get the sense that there's going to be much though, Santo. Based, like, they changed the logo, but if you look at the promotion for tonight's show, I'm looking at it right now on NXT or on WWE.com. It's got the NXT, the new logo, but then behind it is all the colors and the flash and kind of like the old NXT 2.0 style. So yeah, I'm interested to see that too. Thanks so much for the comments, Sando. Please keep them coming, and thank you for listening. Thanks to all who have joined us live here. I really appreciate it. We're on a little bit earlier than we normally are, just due to some scheduling things, and wanted to get this out to the audience in a timely manner. So that's why we're a little bit earlier. Tomorrow will be more on our regular schedule of doing this, later in the afternoon, 4 Eastern, something like that. So you can keep that locked down. And if you subscribe, of course, you'll know exactly when we will be going live. So hopefully you do that. On the babyface side of things in that match, Alba Fire, Nikita Lyons, Zoe Stark, and all three of those women I think have potential. Alba Fire, obviously, she's has a long history in NXT UK. She's been the NXT UK Women's Champion for a long time. I think a record-setting time. So she can clearly go, and she's a good opponent for Mandy Rose to have because of that. That she can have a good match. I think the Alba Fire character is good for NXT, and it's a potential main roster act as well. I think you can do a lot with it. Like, I just think about her making that entrance and having that big, like, Raw SmackDown stage behind her and all the stuff that goes into main roster production. Like, that fits the Alba Fire, character really, really well. Like, there's synergy there for sure. And I think, she's one of those acts that I think may actually be able to get elevated more with that happening and in that environment than she would ordinarily in NXT. So I think she's set up, for good stuff. Nikita Lyons, I know there's a lot of people that are high on her and her potential. I've yet to see it though, guys. I mean, I'm not into what she's doing right now. To me, she's still very much out there playing pro wrestler and not like being a pro wrestler. And there's no authenticity with what she does. Like, she sings on the way to the ring her own entrance music, which I think is just the lamest thing. I have a huge rant about this on the YouTube channel. You can check it out. I like to rant every so often. So the show's called Rants and Raves. It's down on the channel. You can check it out. But yeah, who sings? Nobody sings that. Can you imagine The Rock singing his entrance music on the way to the ring, or anybody for that matter? You just don't do it. And Nikita Lyons does it. It comes off really inauthentic and forced, and it's a put on. And then like when you go to her entrance, right, and she's in the ring and she's doing like the MMA moves and punches and whatnot, it's just like to me, it feels like, okay, this person thinks she needs to have an entrance. She thinks she needs to have some kind of specific entrance pose. And so this is what she came up with, and this is what she's going to do every time. And it doesn't seem like something that she would actually do. Like, she seems totally out of her element. And I know she's got a very distinct background in that area, but for whatever reason, it seems so produced. And that's probably the best way to put it in regards to Nikita Lyons. She's just so darn produced. And when you watch her, you're watching somebody that's reading a script, basically, and I just don't think she's found that comfort level yet. And then Zoe Stark, crazy athletic, thinks she needs a character. I think she needs to have a character. Right now, she's just kind of crazy athletic and really a really good wrestler, and that's about it. But I'd like to see her develop some personality, which Fire and Lyons have in abundance. But Zoe Stark has just not found it yet. So I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. But I just don't think she's tapped into her full potential yet, because she still needs that character work done. As far as how the match goes tonight, I would expect to see the baby faces pick up the win on this one, like Alba Fire pinning Gigi Dolan or JC Jane, something like that, to give them a little boost, to give them a little momentum. They probably have some kind of comeback angle for the heels next week, but this seems like a good week to like get some investment in the baby faces from the audience. And I think they have a perfect avenue to do it in Fire and her team beating Toxic Attraction, but you're not beating Mandy Rose. Like, to me, that's how this goes, without question. The other match that they are promoting for tonight is Andre Chase versus Von Wagner for a spot in the North American Championship ladder match at Halloween Havoc. I mean, we know how this one's going to go, guys, right? Unfortunately, this is one of those matches where it's like, I don't even know why you have this one. Like, put together more of a compelling match than Andre Chase versus Von Wagner. Like, this has Von Wagner written all over it. And if for some reason Andre Chase comes out victorious, it's like, that's kind of like the end of Von Wagner, right? And I am not a Von Wagner fan. I mean, he's like, to me, he's like the key to Lions of the men's division, where it's just everything out there is so produced, and I'm going to pause right here when I talk, and I'm going to talk, and I'm going to pause right here when I talk, and I'm going to talk again, and then I'm going to like do some kind of roar, like it's so produced and it's so forced, and I don't think there's any kind of natural feel to him and from him to the wrestling business either. And I'm not in on him, though. I think he should win this match. I mean, if he has any potential at all and is going to realize any of it at all, you got to beat Andre Chase with big stakes on the line like this. You just have to. And Andre Chase has just not been defined as this kind of guy. You know, he's got a cool little gimmick, but it's also very one note, and it doesn't have a lot of depth behind it either. Like, when I say that, I don't mean it's not layered from a gimmick perspective. What I mean is it's not, there's only so much you can do with it. Like, I don't know how high of a ceiling he has in this role. Like, can you imagine Andre Chase and the Chase U thing around the NXT championship? Can you picture it around like the Intercontinental Championship on the main roster? I mean, I can't. So it's kind of like he's kind of stuck in this gimmick that stands out because it's kind of interesting and it's funny and he plays the part well, but he plays the part really well. Like, I think he's believable in the role that he's in, but it just doesn't have a very long rope as far as, you know, how far you can take it, how far you can climb it. It just doesn't have that type of staying power. And so when you put those two things together and you look at the damage you do to Von Wagner's character, and the fact that, hey, you know, Andre Chase really isn't going anywhere significant at this point, to me, this is an obvious call. Like, you put Von Wagner over, you have him be the big guy in the ladder match at Halloween Havoc, and then, you know, and then you move on. You do some big spots with him on the show, and that's it. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. This is an easy one. I know that they wanted this to feel like a big time moment, and they wanted to feel like, hey, you're overcoming something to qualify for the money, or not money, for the North American Championship title shot. And look, I mean, Andre Chase beat Carmelo Hayes, and so that's why he's earned this opportunity. But there's just nothing else there as far as credibility to make this seem worthwhile. So, man, if I could put money on it, I would, but I would put it all on Von Wagner. Let me do a check here really quick and see if they added anything else to the card this week. I don't think they did. But I'm going to check here in a minute just to make sure. Yeah. So that's it. We knocked it out. I mean, I'm super excited to see what they have on tap. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot. So, you know, you could probably expect, you know, some kind of Joe Gacy segment with Cameron Grimes. I'd imagine we see something with Braun Breaker and building towards the triple threat that's scheduled to take place at Halloween Havoc between him, JD McDonough, and Ilya Dragunov. So, you know, I think there's other ways you can fill the show too, and hopefully we got some good promo segments in here, maybe a squash match or two. You never know, but yeah. So there you have it, guys. Be with us at PWTorch.com as the show goes on tonight. We'll have you covered there. I'll live tweet the show a little bit later, probably because, you know, kids and stuff. But I will be live, or I will be on Twitter watching this thing a little bit later. And then, of course, you know, PWT Talks NXT. It is on the PW Torch Daily Cast. It's a free show every single week that they record right after NXT fades to black. And then they talk about the show, just like we do on the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling podcast and the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post shows. They do a similar show, but for NXT. So you can check that out live or, the next day as well. But thank you all. Santo, appreciate you being here. Thanks to everybody else who joined live and everybody else who's watching this on demand. We will be back live tomorrow afternoon, I should say, with an AEW Dynamite preview. We'll have our Fireside Chat flagship show on Thursday afternoon, myself and Tyler Sage. And then Friday, we'll do a preview of SmackDown live here with you guys. So like the channel, subscribe to the channel. It's a big help for you guys to do that. And hopefully you guys click the notification button. Hopefully you're liking the content enough. Click that notification button so you know every time that we go live. But we are live on this channel every single day of the week in some form or fashion. So yeah, make sure to check us out. Appreciate it. I'm PWTorch Assistant Editor Zack Heydorn. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll catch you guys next time.